Hey everybody. I'll try to keep it brief. I don't think there were a ton of takeaways to be had from game one. Neither team played well. We haven't gotten into the adjustments portion of the series, and that's when you really get into the meat of things. So I'm looking forward to games 2 and 3 to see how coaches and players respond. But the one takeaway I did have from game one was Blake Griffin's minutes, which were not good. And this is not a series where the Nets have to be married to playing Blake, because Green, Brown, and Claxton can all get the job done versus the Celtics. So Blake has to be better if he wants a large role as the Nets' main, center going forward. I'll start on offense, where I didn't really have too many things to pick out, just because the Nets really went ISO heavy and Blake didn't have a lot of opportunities to affect the game. But something I'm looking for early in the playoffs is his ability as a roll man, which could really open up the defense, or really open up the offense and punish defenses when the Nets have 4 shooters on the court. He'll have a lot of space to operate as a play finisher. And the couple opportunities he did have last night didn't look so good. So here, it's a handoff with Kyrie, and he's really hesitant rolling into space, and that creates a turnover. We can see he has the whole lane to work with, and once he gets to about there, he slows down, turns around, halts his momentum, and that leads to a turnover. That was probably the worst rep that he got as a roll man. There weren't many, but the ones he got, he didn't do too much with them. The screens he set didn't really open up the floor, so I'll be interested to see that going forward. But it's the defense and rebounding I really want to focus on. So he had some good switches, especially on Tatum. Here at the top of the key, he stays with him, forces an air ball. He's good in these static situations on defense. And what I mean by that is he's good when the offensive player doesn't have a running head start. Here he meets Tatum. Neither of them really have momentum, and it's a pretty basic one-on-one drill that he excels at. And we've seen this during the regular season. When he has to meet a ball handler coming downhill, that presents issues for him. The foot speed just isn't there anymore. We saw it in Denver. Austin Rivers comes off a screen with momentum towards Blake and finishes for an easy layup. He shifts him. And we saw it with the Celtics last night in the few high screen and roll opportunities that they had. Here, Tatum, almost near half court, comes off with momentum at Blake, and it's too much for a layup. Blake can't move his feet fast enough to stop him from getting downhill. Kemba is an even larger issue for Blake in this regard. Here, he's meeting him with a full head of steam and shifts him and gets an open shot. If not for a really nice effort by Kyrie, that shot would have been uncontested, and it's 2 points. So Blake can switch. He can hold up in one-on-one situations, but when a ball handler is attacking him downhill, that's where he can get exposed. And it's not like the Nets don't have other options that are good defending isolation off the bench. I mean, Jeff Green had a few really nice possessions on Jason Tatum. Dorsberg highlighted this one on the broadcast. And even Bruce Brown had a few good possessions on Tatum, a few decent ones, but he's also their best option on Kemba. There, he rides his hip and forces him, with some help from Joe Harris, into a tough floater that he airballs. So as good as Blake might be in static ISO situations, the Nets don't have to lean on him for that, because they can get that defense from other places, Green and Brown, and we know what Claxton can do one-on-one. So the Celtics may look to expose him a little more, attacking him downhill in Game 2, and that is an area that the Nets can turn to some other guys to get help for. Blake also wasn't the best interior defender last night or in Game 1. Here, Robert Williams kind of loses contain and then is unable to contest his shot. In the 11 minutes that Nick Claxton played, he was a much more forceful presence on the inside. Here, he's guarding Thompson as Jason Tatum makes his way downhill, and he gets way up to alter that shot and force a miss at the rim. That's just not something that Blake is doing anymore. Look at the contrast between that and this. And then lastly, the rebounding was the worst aspect of Blake's performance in Game 1. And that is the most crucial aspect of his game for the Nets. The only way they lose this series is if Boston gets a ton more possessions than them. And that happens with effort like this. He's even with Tristan Thompson as the shot goes up and then just lets him release to the rim for 2. James Harden is very confused that Blake is not boxing out. This one is even worse. He's guarding Neesmith in the corner as the shot goes up from the wing, and he makes no effort to get into play on the second or third opportunities. He's just kind of standing there. He only grabbed 3 boards in 21 minutes in Game 1 as their starting center in a game where there were plenty of bricks to be had. And looking at the raw rebounding numbers is often lacking context, but you're just going to have to do better than that. So that's about it on my takeaways for Game 1. The only other thing I would say that stood out to me is the Nets really have to push in transition, just play with pace, because when they get the ball up court, they're guaranteed to have a mismatch. Here, they bring it up quickly, and KD has Tristan Thompson, and that's 2 points pretty easily. So those are 2 areas to look out for in Game 1 and Game 2. Mainly looking at Blake's minutes distribution, how he plays, and the rest of the front court, and if the Nets can get going in transition or semi-transition, which will generate some easy matchups versus the Celtics team.